Hi everyone, welcome back to the US CPA classes for financial accounting and reporting. Yes, we are in part 6 of ASC 606, that is revenue recognition. This is the sixth part of the video. In this video, I'll be walking you through in detail of step 5, that is recognition of revenue when an entity satisfies the performance obligation. So let's dive into to understand more in detail about how to recognize revenue, step 5 of ASC 606. So let's start step 5, revenue, recognition of revenue when the entity satisfy the performance obligation, right? If you remember, in all the first four contracts, we were holding to the respective items, but we were not explained when to recognize revenue and how to recognize revenue, right? If you see in the identification of contract, we understood what is a contract, when it's modification, when it's combination, and when it's portfolio approach, and so on and so forth, right? Then we jump into the step 2. There we understood about performance obligation in the contract. There might be possible that there's one performance obligation in a contract, or there may be a multiple performance obligation. So identification of performance obligation within the contract we understood, right? Then we jump into the third step about the transaction price. Transaction price is the total price of the contract, and then bifurcation of the total price to the respective performance obligation that we understood. And then fourth step, which we have studied yesterday, is allocation of transaction price. So from the total transaction price, how much is being allocated to the respective performance obligation. In the last time we did this small example as well, where we have taken an example for the car sale with the extended warranty and accessory. Their individual pricing, their specific discounted, understanding of the standalone selling prices, and allocation of the general discount based on the standalone selling price, and final allocated transaction price, right? Now it's time when
So
to
you did
recognize it.
notes there, Jana, with this example.
Yes, I think I have I given it yesterday or not.
No, class के बाद
No.
तो नहीं.
Okay, no worries, I'll send you after this class, right?
Okay.
So now we are jumping into step 5, finally to recognize the revenue, right? An entity recognize the revenue when it satisfies the performance obligation. From the day one, we are understanding like revenue will be recognized upon satisfaction of the respective performance obligation. Some performance obligation would be on time basis, and some performance obligation may be over the period of time. We'll be understanding in detail, and then how to recognize the revenue for over the period of time, and how to recognize the revenue for point in time, right? But important thing is transferring of the promised goods and services to the customer, right? So transfer actually occurs when the customer obtain the control for the goods and services either at point in time or over the period of time. This we all know, like we have studied in school days and college days also, or maybe in your professional education, like the risk and reward need to be transferred, then only like the person can recognize the revenue, right? How those risk and reward is being transferred, that control transfer definition we have understood in step 2, right? So control in context is defined as ability to direct, right? This is very much similar language which we have studied in step 2. Control in this context is defined as the ability to direct the use. That means when you can say you have control on any particular asset, when you have ability to direct the use, whether I should be using it, my team member will be using it, or I'm giving it to third party vendor. For example, if you are a car leasing company, right, and you have multiple cars and you give car on the lease, right, so you have a right to give that asset, right, to give that car on the lease to the respective customer, right? So you are directing the use of the car. It's not necessarily that you are using all the car, right? More importantly, you have authority or you have ability to direct the usage of the respective assets and obtain substantially all the remaining benefits from that assets, right? Control also include ability to prevent other entity from directing the use and obtaining the benefit from asset. For example, if you have purchased the car from the dealer, right, now you can prevent the dealer from using it, right? Even though it's still lying on the dealer office or maybe dealer warehouse, but you can say like dealer cannot use this car to showcase to any other person, or cannot use this car for any of his or her Personal purpose, because you have already paid and only the delivery is being pending, right? So here you have right to prevent other entity from directing the use and obtaining the benefit of the respective asset. So in that situation, it is considered that you have the control, and the control has been transferred from dealer to you. Now, what are the control indicators? Right, this is again very much similar to what we have studied in step 2, which is performance obligation, right? Physical possession, right? If you are having the physical possession of the car, right, that shows like you are the owner of the car, right? Right to payment for the asset. If you are selling that asset, then you are getting the collection, so you have the right to get the money out of those assets, right? And you have legal owner, or you have legal title of the respective asset, and you have ownership of the respective assets, or you have significant risk and reward has been transferred. So these all are control indicator when you consider that asset is owned to somebody, right? So what all things you will keep in mind, what all things generally you consider, it varies from case to case basis. Like for the property matter, maybe possession is not sufficient, legal title is more important, right? Maybe for the pen, let's assume like if it is in my position, you all assume like it is my pen, right? So it also depend on things to things also, but these are like general indicator which indicate you who is owning the respective assets, right? Now coming to the recognition criteria, revenue recognition we are discussing, right? So here are two way possible to recognize the revenue. One is point in time, the second is over the period of time. There's no third method, right? So there are only two methods. Either you are recognizing the revenue at the point of time, or maybe recognizing over the period of time. When to recognize the revenue at point in time and when to recognize the revenue over the period of time, let's understand that. If you see left hand side of the box, which says point in time, when to recognize revenue on point in time. First is the risk and reward are transferred immediately upon delivery of the goods or completion of the services that do not meet over the period of time recognition criteria. That means whatever is meeting the criteria of over the period of time need to be recognized over the period of time, and whatever is not meeting that criteria, that is come under point in time. That is, point in time is a residual way. Make sense? Always first we need to look at over the period of time criteria. If over the period of time criteria is matching, then you need to recognize the revenue over the period of time. If over the period of time criteria is not matching, then automatically it fall into the point in time criteria. Make sense? Yes? No?
Yes,
Hmm?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, as an CPA, what we need to look at it over the period of time criteria first, right? If that is not matching, then residual is point in time. So, there are certain example for point in time, like for example, sale of product, right? So sale of product, when you are in let's assume you are a manufacturer or you might be a trader, right? You may get purchase order. Within the purchase order there might be certain terms which called like FOB shipping or FOB destination. Do you know what is FOB shipping or FOB destination?
Sir, freight on board,
Mm-hmm.
उसमें basically होता है till the point of till the point on the port where the ship reaches, no, where from where it starts, excluding the insurance and transportation, I think.
Mm-hmm. And
That
what is destination?
destination is including insurance and this transportation maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a CIF value, like
Mm-hmm.
वो निकालते ही तभी है जब when it reaches the destination port at the when it is standing at that port where the goods were intended to be delivered.
Mm-hmm. Anyone
That is,
else would like to add? What are you saying?
Yeah, FOB shipping means the ownership of the goods transferred at the shipping point, and FOB destination means ownership of the good transfer at the destination point to the customer.
yes,
Yeah, absolutely right.
sorry.
Absolutely right. So FOB shipping mean when you transfer the material to the shipping point from where like buyer will take the responsibility.
That means your responsibility will be over and your risk and reward has been transferred as and when you delivered the material to the shipping point. FOB destination mean it's at their warehouse, it's at their company, it's at their doorstep, right? So in that case of scenario, you'll be recognizing the revenue once it is delivered to the customer place. So that is the difference between these two terms, FOB shipping and FOB destination. So in the product sales category, you will see like these are the two terms very commonly used across the globe, right? And these are the two terms are generally negotiated across the globe as well, right? Now, which one is more important for us to understand as a CPA is over the period of time criteria. So let's look at right hand side of the box. So right hand side of the box is proportionate to the amount of performance obligation that has been satisfied if a customer is simultaneously receiving and consuming the benefit. For example, let's say you have taken a laptop, right, and you are using AMC service for the laptop, or maybe let's say you have an office and you have, let's say, 10 computers, right, and you are taking AMC service. So you are using AMC service over the period of time, but it's not like, like you do not know when actually it is being required. Same is the case of warranty, right? So warranty is for the period basically, and neither you knows what may be the fault nor the seller knows at the time of selling what will be the fault and what may be the outcome or what may be the cost, right? So these are the example where you are consuming the services over the period of time. If something happened wrong to your computer, you can go back and ask the AMC service provider to fix it, right? If you have purchased a car along with extended warranty, if some breakdown happened to your car, then you can go to dealer and ask them to fix it. But at that time, you don't know what may be the problem in future, right? Other example would be maintenance service, like in buildings, like in your office building, in your corporate building, or in your malls, or maybe in your residential complex, you will see there is a maintenance service provider, right? So maintenance service provider may be providing the service of cleaning of the building, right? Electrician support, plumbing support, right? Or carpenter support, right? But when you are using it, you do not know at what time what service you will be needing it, but that is always be there to support you in case of need. That means you are consuming the services over the period of time, or you are consuming the benefits over the period of time, hence it meets the criteria of over the period of time. Second one is, any doubts so far?
No, sir.
Hmm?
No, sir.
Second,
No, sir.
second one is entity performance create or enhance an asset that customer control. So in this case, when you are constructing, for example, you are constructing a building for a customer, right? So here, the point, if you see, entity performance create or enhance an asset that that customer control. So, for example, if you are developing any software for any customer, right, that software will be an asset for the customer, and when you are incurring time in building that software, that means you are building an asset for the customer, right? And it generally take longer time. Same is the case of construction of building. If you are constructing any residential complex, if you are constructing any commercial building, right, so it generally take longer period of time, and benefit to the consumer is their assets are building, right? In that case of scenario also, you should be recognizing the revenue on period of time, over the period of time, not at point of time, because you are working continuously for developing the asset for the user, for the customer, right? It's not your own asset, right? For example, sometimes students get confused about this real estate example. Hmm? If you see, if you have purchased like ready-made houses and then you are selling it, it is your inventory, right? And you are maybe like working as a dealer, or you are buying at your own and then selling at your own, right? So in that case of scenario, ready-made house you are delivering. So that is point in time. But for example, if let's assume uh, Gurmeher wants to construct his house of like 4-story building along with stilt, and Gurmeher has hired, let's assume, Rahul as a contractor to construct this building, and they agreed for a pricing of, let's assume, $400,000. So in this case of scenario, the Rahul will be recognizing the revenue over the period of time of the construction. Let's assume the total time is 1.5 year or maybe 2 year. So the Rahul will be recognizing the revenue over the period of 2 year basis on the respective percentage completion of the house. Right? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Hmm? C
Yes,
point
sir.
is, yeah, Rahul, any question?
No, sir.
Hmm? Prashant,
No.
you're saying something?
No, sir.
Okay, sorry, I heard someone is saying. So C point is entity's performance does not create an asset with an alternative use to the entity, and entity has an enforceable right to the payment for the performance complete to date. Like, for example, research and development work. Let's assume Rahul, Akars, and Gurmehar. They formed a company and they are doing research and development work for the pharmaceutical company, right? Let's assume they are doing biotechnology research. Hmm? And now Prashant and Kamal have formed a company and they hired Rahul, Akars, and Gurmehar to do a research and development specifically for their company, specifically for their project, right? In that case of scenario, there is no alternate use. Like what research they are using is specifically and dedicatedly for our product, right? It has no other use. Like Rahul, Akash, and Gurmeher cannot sell that research to any other person outside the world, right? So in that case of scenario, Rahul, Akash, and Gurmeher and company, they can recognize the revenue over the period of time. For example, another example, if I say, do you remember like yesterday class we saw mold, tire molds? Have you seen that?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Right. So if you see, for example, there's a company called, let's say, uh, MRF Tires, right? MRF Tire wants to set up 10 molds into their new facilities, right? For those 10 molds, they need to build a platform which is underground and over the ground platform, right? And for that, they hired Prashant and Rahul to construct that platform, right? So this platform cannot be used by anyone else because it is at their facility, right? And it is for their specific use to install the moves, right? Make sense? So hence, if you are developing, let's assume Prashant and Rahul are developing that platform for MRF tires or maybe JK tires, then they can recognize the revenue over the period of time because that asset has no alternative use. And the most important part over here is the entity has enforceable right to the payment. Make sense? So when can you recognize the revenue over the period of time? First one is when consumer is receiving the benefit or consuming the benefit over the period of time simultaneously. Second is when you are creating any asset or enhancing any asset of the customer, which customer control. Hmm? Third thing is when the entity performance does not create an asset with an alternative use. For example, if you are creating an ambulance for Apollo Hospital, let's say you are an ambulance manufacturer, right? You are creating an ambulance specifically for Apollo Hospital. That everything is being branded, like even a small things, everything. There's a name of Apollo Hospital, right? You cannot sell that. You can say van, which is like ambulance van, to maybe like Medanta or to any other hospital, because each and everything is being designed and branded as per Apollo. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Hmm? So
But
then there,
Apollo will pay for that ambulance at once,
yes,
you know.
yes, 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 yes.
But even then, we'll recognize over a period of time.
No, if it is like, we'll come to that. If it is like, for example, let's say Apollo has given you an order to make, let's say, 50 ambulance dedicated and specifically for the, right. In that case of scenario, all the specification in the ambulance, like where to keep like oxygen, where to keep like medical devices, where to keep the bed, and everything and anything need to be branded as per Apollo, right. Here no one else can use this asset, right. For this is a, let's say, 50 ambulance project. So 50 ambulance you are developing specifically for the Apollo, and it will take time. It will not be your ready-made material, it will not be your inventory. So in that case of scenario, you'll be recognizing the revenue over the period of time.
So if we take an example, like there are vendors provide uh, school dresses basically
Hmm.
to a
Hmm.
particular school. So, for example, for DPS, a vendor is providing school dresses for 5, 6 standards, right? So
Hmm.
will that be categorized under this as well? Because that will take because that a tailor-made thing
Hmm.
specifically for that school with their logo and all.
Hmm. Hmm. Two things. One is, like just putting the logo on the shirt or maybe on the dress. Would that be the case? Then the shirt can have alternate use, right? Without the logo. In all these school dresses, first like shirts are being made, and then logo has been added on a need basis of the respective schools, right? What is the scenario here?
No, if the logo is there, then alternate use is not there, right?
No, 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 no. For example, let's say I am DPS, right? And I need, let's say, 1,000 shirts, and all shirts are of white color, and putting logo in on the pocket of DPS, right? So
Mm-hmm.
first thing we need to see the white shirts, right? Have like alternative use that can be
Okay,
used for
okay.
KR Manglam, can be used for APJ school, or can be used for Jesus Mary school, right? Any other school can use that white shirt, or any person can buy that white shirt, right? And then lastly, when we are embedding the logos, that logos will be embedding based on the specific order of the DPS.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, in that case, it will be considered a point in time because they
Yeah,
are just
because
putting the
we are,
logo and selling it because
yes, yes,
shirts are already there
made.
in their warehouses. Okay,
Yes, yes, yes.
got
Right? Any other doubt or any other thought coming in your mind,
Uh,
guys?
ये जो अभी what Gurmeher just asked, इसमें सिर्फ जो shirts हैं which can be actually sold जब
Hmm.
without a logo, so but मैं अगर उस decide तो मैंने तब करा कि whether I have to sell it to other customers or I have to put in a logo and sell it to that particular school. So that those will be two different situations, and revenue should be recognized. If I am selling the plain shirt without the logo, then the revenue should be recognized at point in time. Otherwise, if I am putting the logo, it should be recognized over the period of time.
No, logo is not a significant part of the shirt,
Okay, okay, okay,
and it can be placed for any company, any brand at any point of time,
okay,
and it is like replaceable also.
okay, okay.
Hmm. Yep. Okay. So let's jump into the method to measure the progress to recognize the revenue over the period of time. So first one is output method. Second one is input method. What is output method? Can anyone have any idea? Do anyone have any idea? What is output method or what is input method? Any guess? Just from the name,
The
something is
output
coming.
method should be when the entity has delivered, the service provider has delivered the service or provided that particular good. That should be, the output side of the
Mm-hmm.
of the performance obligation.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in case of input, it should be how much material are we using, and put how much effort are we putting into that service to deliver that particular good. That should be कि कितना किस टाइम पे वी आर मतलब
Mm-hmm.
कितना आ रहा है, उस बेसिस पे वी कैन डिसाइड कि मे बी
Mm.
हाउ मच इज द रेवेन्यू। दैट्स व्हाट
Mm.
आई हैव फ्रॉम द
Yeah,
नोट।
yeah. Anyone else would like to add to Ayush? Huh? Gurmehar, Rahul, Rajiv, Ananya, are you getting things? Huh? Kashish?
So output is something which are giving, like we're producing something and we'll
Mm.
quantify that.
Mm-hmm.
And input is the, like, as he's already stated, the input efforts which we have,
Mm.
like, invested in order to deliver that service or product.
Mm.
That these are the two, like,
Mm.
categories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Rajiv sir, Kashish, Ananya, would you guys like to add anything to Gurmehar or Ayush? Are you guys here?
यस सर।
Kashish, you are not speaking today.
मैं इसे थोड़ा कोरिलेट कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि यस्टरडे क्लास में था भी तो थोड़ा देख रहा था क्या है।
Okay, okay. I thought you go you got your NASBA evaluation, so you are on the cloud.
नहीं सर, मैंने तो सर एक्सपेक्ट भी नहीं करा था।
एक ऐसा बड़ी भेजा फिर वापस आ गया, बहुत स्ट्रगल करा उसने।
I know it's painful activity, undoubtedly. Yeah. So, but I'll give you a very, very simple example. How many of you have electricity connection at your home?
एवरीवन सर, एवरीवन।
Ah, no, no one is living in diyas or candles, right?
नहीं नहीं सर, नहीं ऐसा
so,
नहीं।
so you have like electricity meter at your home, right? And when they bill and how they bill, when you consume the electricity, right? That's on output base, right? I'm sure some of you may have gas connection also at your home, right?
यस सर।
So, how do you get the billing? After consumption, when the output is being used, right? Every month you'll get the bill based on how many units of electricity you have consumed, how many units of gas you have consumed, right? These are very simple, or you can say layman example for output method. When you bill based on output, right? So that may be based on unit produced, material delivered, milestone achieves, right? Another thing is like input method.
सर
So,
इनपुट मेथड का एग्जांपल वो हो सकता है मेरे ख्याल से, जो सर्विसेज जैसे होती है ना, लॉयर की
mhm,
सर्विसेज होती हैं। इन
mhm,
दैट केस क्या होता है, दे आर दे फाइल एन अपील बिफोर सेट
mhm,
स्टार्ट्स, तो
yes,
माइल बेस्ड हो जाता है बहुत, कि वी हैव पुट इन दैट एफर्ट एंड
mm,
ऑल दैट, सो दे आर बिलिंग अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट। दैट शुड बी द इनपुट मेथड, बिकॉज इन दैट दे आर
yes.
पर्टिकुलरली पुटिंग इन देयर एफर्ट, आई सपोज।
Yeah, that's a good example. And same way, like in IT companies or in BPO and KPO, you will see like number of hours like team has invested on specific project, and they will have charge. They will charge based on billable hours, right, Prashant?
Yes, sir.
Right, so that is called the input method, that how many number of hour the respective team member have invested, and on each category of team member there are agreed rate, right? And accordingly they do the billing. Same way, like some of you work with EY GDS, right? Or some of you have already experience of working in offshore company, right? So how do we charge? We also charge based on number of hour and the agreed rate. Maybe for staff, rate may be different. For the senior, rate may be different. For manager, rate will be different. For senior manager and partner, rate will be different, right? So how much number of hour each team member have put on the respective engagement, and accordingly they do the charging, right? Same way, if you see security service provider, how many days, like have you heard this G4 security? That's one of the big one in security service provider.
Yes.
Have you seen like people in blue dress with G4S logo?
Yes, yes, yes.
और बेसिकली
Right,
बैंकिंग
right. So that's, if you see that security service provider, they do the billing based on number of security people they have provided during the month, right? So that is called input method, where the input is being measured to calculate the billing amount. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
So can we take an example of overtime like in Amazon itself, like if you are doing 9 hours of shift and post that will do 2 hours of 40 on that particular day or any, any 6 day you are working, then you will get,
But there is no client involvement in that, Kashish, I suppose. क्योंकि
Say that, sorry, say that again. Akash, what do you saying?
या सो इसमें सर जो कशिश बोल रहा है कि आपका 8 आवर्स की शिफ्ट है देन उसके बाद ओवर चार्ज हो रहा है बट उसमें क्लाइंट इन्वॉल्वमेंट नहीं है वी आर नॉट प्रोवाइडिंग एनी सर्विस इन दैट केस आई सपोज
नहीं
No, no, no,
सर्विस तो
no.
जा रही है ना यार, काम तो चल ही रहा है ना,
Yes,
सर्विसेज तो
yes,
प्रोवाइड हो रही है ना.
yes, yes. So time, if you are investing extra on the project and you are charging on that project, so it will be your billable hour.
Yes, yes. So input classes
Unless
will
and
be
until
taken.
your manager say no to it, don't charge because it will hit his or her KPI. That's a practical challenges.
So sir, overtime will be taken as input one, right?
Yes, 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 absolutely true. Right? So these are two methods for measuring the progress to recognize the revenue over the period of time. For example, in IT project, generally it goes like 6 months, 12 months, or sometime more than 12 months also, right? In that case of scenario, they have agreed rate for the respective level. And whatever the time, energy, the respective level team member invest on that project, they will charge accordingly. Hmm?
सर आई हैव अ डाउट सर
Yes, please.
सर जो मैंने ही पहला एग्जांपल दिया था जैसे लॉ फर्म के केस में कि दे आर
Hmm.
फाइलिंग अपील फॉर द क्लाइंट बट
Hmm.
उसमें जरा मेरे को खुद ही कंफ्यूजन हो गया है, क्योंकि उसमें ये भी होता है ना कि एट द टाइम ऑफ फाइलिंग ऑफ अपील मे बी दे चार्ज कि
Hmm.
मतलब मैंने अपील फाइल कर दी नाउ
Hmm.
द केस इज रनिंग सो दे विल बी सबमिटिंग मोर सबमिशंस एंड ऑल दे विल बी विजिटिंग
Hmm.
ऑफिसर सो इट शुड
Hmm.
एक्चुअली बी बेस्ड ऑन क्योंकि आउटपुट मेथड में वो हो गया ना अपने ईएल के अंदर दे गिव की at the time of filing appeal, this should be the amount 50,000, 60,000. Then
Hmm.
case is going on at the closure of the case, हम इतना charge करेंगे. So that should be output method, I suppose.
Yeah, no, no, it can be combination of both also, right? It's not very much straightforward. Like all agreement may have only one method, or one agreement may have only one method. It
Yeah.
depends on case to case basis that we need to understand, right? For example, let's assume like Ayush is a lawyer, right? And Kashish and let's say Prashant, they are running a company and they hired Ayush as a lawyer for any customer litigation. Hmm? So in that case of scenario, Ayush says for filing the reply to the customer complaint, I'll charge let's say $5,000, and on every hearing which I'll be attending, I'll charge $200 per hearing. Right? That's how generally it is. And once we win the case, at that point of time, I'll be charging, let's assume 5% of the money which we receive back from the customer. Right? So in this case of scenario, first like $5,000 which you have calculated. So there would be some basis to it, right? Why the $5,000? Why not 3,000? Why not 7,000? Because you might have done all the calculation, like how much number of hours you need to invest in understanding the case, right? And doing your own research on the similar cases and preparing the petition and filing the response to the court, right? So there would be hours involved in it, which you have budgeted. Like I might be investing, let's say 50 hours and $100 per hour. You might have done the calculation to come up to the $5,000 number, which you have quoted to Prashant and Kashish, right? In that case of scenario, this $5,000 would be recognized when you file the response to the complaint, right? And then on each hearing, as and when it comes, you'll getting $200. So that will be recognized on each hearing when you are satisfying the respective performance obligation. Hmm? And then lastly, which is like contingency, because whether you win the case or you lose the case, neither of you know, right? That is the contingent amount, and that amount will be recognized only when you actually win the case.
Right.
Make sense, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Gurmehar, Kashish, Prashant, any other questions coming in your mind?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clear, clear.
Okay. Cool. So next topic we have is principal or agent. Yesterday I think we have touched base this. So what is principal? What is agent? I know in school days or college day you might have studied about it. Yes, exactly the same thing we'll be learning here again. So there is control indicator which help in identifying CPA whether the person is a principal or that person is agent. Why do we need to identify any person to be an agent or principal? Any idea? Any idea?
सर क्योंकि
Why on the earth as a CPA I need to identify whether the person is a principal or agent?
मतलब यही हो गया कि परफॉर्मेंस ऑब्लिगेशन एक्चुअली तो प्रिंसिपल की ही रहेगी हमेशा व्हेन
Hmm.
मतलब आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए मे बी कि हु विल रिकॉग्नाइज द रेवेन्यू एक्चुअली प्रिंसिपल या एजेंट बेसिस व्हाट दैट्स व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड
So I guess revenue component का difference होगा. Basically, the main like basically the value will be recognized at the principal end, and the service charge or basically their commission will be charged or recognized by the agent.
Hmm.
If a car has been sold,
Hmm.
uh, the commission will be charged like the accountant of agent who is selling that car will recognize only the commission part,
हु विल
Hmm.
रिकॉग्नाइज
not the entire value of the car.
यस
Hmm.
And the owner, so basically the company, Hyundai, will recognize the sale of that car. So in order
Hmm.
to understand the concept and the breakage of revenue between these two parties, we have to understand if there's any agent involved or not.
Hmm. Rahul, Ananya, what's your thought? Rajiv sir?
सर एजेंट का बेसिकली कमीशन बेसिस पे होता है एंड प्रिंसिपल का बेसिकली आउट ऑफ प्रॉफिट्स मतलब प्रॉफिट्स क्या गेन हो रहा है वो ऑटोमेटिकली जो है प्रिंसिपल पे ही आएगा एंड एजेंट
Hmm.
पे बेसिकली कमीशन बेसिस पे होता है और उसकी कोई इन्वेस्टमेंट है देन ही विल टेक पार्ट इन इट अदरवाइज सिर्फ कमीशन बेसिस पे ही होता है उनका
Hmm. Okay. Anyone else would like to add anything? Yeah, I think you guys have rightly pointed out for the principal why we need to identify somebody's principal or somebody's agent because the recognition of revenue is different for both of them. So, principal will recognize the revenue on a gross basis, that is total sales, whereas agent need to be recognized only on a net basis, that is his or her commission. For example, like you might be dealing with property dealers, right? What are these property dealers are? They are all agent, right? They do not own the house, but they sell the house and they earn the commission or brokerage on selling of the house, right? So they are the agent. So their revenue is the commission, not the entire sales value. Make sense? So in their books, they would be recognizing the revenue only to the extent of commission, not to the sale value or the purchase value of the respective assets or inventory. Make sense? So first, to identify somebody is a principal or somebody is an agent, what all things we need to keep in mind is the control indicator. Who is having the controls, right? The person who have the controls is considered as principal, and person who do not have control is considered as agent, right? So what are the control indicator which we need to evaluate to identify whether one person is a principal or an agent? First one is primary responsibility to fulfill the performance obligation, right? For example, if you purchase a car, who has the primary responsibility that car would be in a good running condition which you need and will provide all the you can say comfort as well as performance commitment which the company provide to their customer. So who has primary responsibility? Hyundai, right? Tata, BMW, that's a OEM, right? Or the dealer have the primary responsibility? Who has primary responsibility?
Hyundai and all.
Huh?
Hyundai and all they are.
Right? Right? Absolutely true. So original manufacturer, basically OEMs, they have the primary responsibility to fulfill the performance obligation. Hmm? Second is who has inventory risk. If for any reason, let's say you have given, let's assume like Prashant and Ayush has a business of let's say manufacturing, LED bulbs. Let's assume, right? So they have manufactured a number of LED bulbs and which they sell through the agents all over the world, right? And they have given that inventory to the respective agent to keep at their place as and when order come, they will deliver it. Hmm? If for any reason a flood come at one particular part of the world and they lost, let's assume $10,000 of inventory. So whose loss will it be? The agent or the Ayush and Prashant company?
Sir Ayush and Prashant's company.
Right? So who is holding the inventory risk? That also indicate the control or the ownership. Hmm? Third is credit risk. Credit risk means if the agent, if like for example, this let's continue this example of LED bulbs, which Prashant and Ayush are manufacturing, and they are selling through the agent at pan India level, and one agent has sold that on a credit basis. Let's assume the order the agent has given is $5,000, but now the person is not paying money. So who has the credit risk? That means whose loss it will be? The Prashant and Ayush loss or the agent loss? We'll
Prashant.
try to push the agent, but at the end it is your company loss, right?
Right, sir.
Yes,
Hmm?
sir.
So that is called credit risk. And last and the most important is price determination authority. Can Prashant and Ayush make the price decision, or the pricing is being decided by the agent at respective location?
Being decided by the principal.
Being decided by the principal or decided by the company, right? So these are certain indicator which indicate who has the control, and those indicator help you identifying who is the principal, right? And whosoever is the principal would be recognizing the revenue on a gross basis, and whosoever is not a principal, that means he or she is agent, that agent need to recognize the revenue on net basis. What is net basis? Sales price minus purchase, right? Only the commission amount. Make sense? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Cool. So we are done with principal or agent concept. Next concept we have is loss contract. Loss contract, or you can say onerous contract. Have you heard about this term before? Onerous contract or loss contract?
No, sir. At least I am not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kashish, Ayush, Gurmehar.
No, sir.
No?
ये सर एमबीए में पढ़ा तो था.
पढ़ा तो था इसमें.
हाँ. When? College में?
और audit में भी read it, I suppose.
Okay. Rahul, Ananya, do you guys have any idea what is onerous contract?
Sir, onerous contract would be there's like already unavoidable cost है of meeting obligations जो है, that is as per the contract has already exceeded the economic benefits. The cost is already exceeding the benefits. We know it. It's a net contract basically. We won't get any benefit out of it, and we know that. That's an onerous contract as per.
Like there might be the company entered into some contract which may be a short term or maybe a long term, but at the end it will be a loss generating contract, right? So in first thing, as a common man, we need to understand why would the company enter into such contract. Any idea why the
Actually,
company will enter into a contract of loss making?
सर
it's
पहले तो सब प्रॉफिट मेकिंग लग रहा होता है, लेकिन इन दी एंड जैसे ही वो क्लोज होने वाला होता है तो कुछ ना कुछ लॉस हो जाता है, जिसकी वजह से जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जो है इट विल
maybe
ऑटोमेटिकली
there
कन्वर्ट
can
जाएगा.
be a case कि we entered into a contract as on
Hmm.
like 1st January 23.
Hmm.
Okay. So we decided the contract value to be around $1,000.
Hmm.
Okay, but later on there was a price escalation in the materials that or whatever we needed to supply that service.
Hmm.
Those prices have actually changed and
Hmm.
they have been inflated.
Hmm.
Okay, so ultimately we will be bearing a loss, but still, if we don't fulfill that contract, there will be a penalty implication which might be written in the contract if we do not, close that contract with the customer. So we have to carry on that contract, but that will be a loss-making contract eventually.
Hmm.
Say, sir, if we take an example of construction of a building, जैसे ही
Say
सर
that
जैसे
again. Which example?
सर कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ अ बिल्डिंग,
Hmm.
सर जैसे जैसे मतलब जैसे एग्रीमेंट हो गया, देन यू नो द डीलर विल नो द प्राइसेस एंड एवरीथिंग, दैट रॉ
Hmm.
मटेरियल्स कितना लगेगा, एंड जैसे जैसे बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्ट होती रहती है रॉ मटेरियल्स की कॉस्ट जो है एकदम से बढ़ जाएगी.
Hmm.
अगर बढ़ गई इन द सेंस देन इट विल बी इन द एंड इट डजंट हैव अ यू नो a
Hmm.
great profit, or it may be turn into a loss as well.
Hmm.
So we will take an example of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, very, very good example. So here, if you see, like from all the examples you have shared, there are two, three things. One is, at the inception, you might have not, considered the contingency or might not have done proper estimation of the cost. One is that reason. Second reason, maybe we have not drafted the contract properly, that may have embedded, you can say, term for escalation clause in case of inflation impact, right? Third reason may be, like which Kashish said, like contractor, they bid for the lower price even though they know it, like it may not be practically possible, but just to gain the contract, they bid for it, right? And later on they start creating the problem, and then at the end we need to pay escalation, right? This is what you might have commonly seen. But there is more important part to it. More important part to it are strategic contract, right? This is what you have seen in your experiences, which like maybe like construction contract or maybe a small contract. But if you see like bigger company, all the, you can say, senior leaders of the company having 10, 20, 50 lawyers teams or chartered accountant or CPA's team, they conclude some loss making contract might be good for the company. Can you imagine why?
So in order to have like a strategic move in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
because if they deliver, they might set an example and have their first mover advantage on that expertise, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, in order to create
Price
image
war,
in the respective fields.
Say that again, Kashish.
Sir, in order to create image in the respective fields.
Mm-hmm.
sir,
Okay.
price war हो गई है and they are burning heavily. They are a cash rich company maybe, and first
Mm-hmm.
mover advantage would be the main thing which good,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. So that should be the case.
Yeah. So I like, for example, back in 2008, uh, no, back in 2002. So PwC India, they acquired Maruti audit engagement at a 60% loss. At a 60% loss. The reason of the acquisition of that audit engagement was, at that point of time, Maruti was having 71% market share in automobile. Right? If you are an auditor at that point of time, I'm saying in back in 2001 and 2002, if you were an auditor of a company like Maruti, there are so many intangible benefits you will achieve. So many ancillary company will get the confidence. So many other automobile industry company will get the confidence for you, on you, right? and you will also get a lot of additional mileage in the automobile industry. So that was even though that contract was a loss contract, 60% lost year over year for 3 years we were incurring in PwC, but that has given us like additional edge on the automobile industry that we cover more than 75% of automobile industry audits, right? Another example in my life which I have seen is the loyalty rewards, which like I think in during like when we were discussing the breakage concept, then also I've given this example. They they got SBI at 38 or 39% loss count. But why they got SBI on board? Because back in 2007 or 2008, sorry, in 2008, SBI was having around 71 or 72% market share of the banking, right? If SBI, one of the largest government bank, is on board with you, then it will be very easy to convince all other private and mid-sized bank that they can trust on you, right? Another example, like in back in 2017, when I moved to US, we won General Motors audit engagement. That was on around 25% loss engagement. We won. But having General Motors on board in US in itself says that you have 40% approximate market share of automobile, right? Then there are a lot of ancillary companies. Like immediate next year, we got Robert Bosch, and immediate in the same year we got couple of other ancillaries company on it because we are auditing General Motors, and General Motors were their customers. To impress their customer, they have also changed their auditor to EY, right? So they are strategic move also. So the point is why somebody get into the onerous contract. One is it may be strategic move. Second is it may be wrong estimation. Third, it may be not properly drafting of the agreement. That can be the reason. So here you need to evaluate how much is the loss you will end up incurring on the particular contract. If the loss is on account of your mistake, your wrong estimation, or maybe on account of inappropriate drafting of the contract, right? Then you must book the loss upfront, same day, as and when you get to know you'll be end up incurring the loss. But if the loss is on the strategic move, which I was sharing with you, then you need to evaluate the other contracts which are compensating that loss. And if that loss is still bigger than the other compensation or benefit you're receiving, then to that extent you need to book the loss. Are you getting my what I'm saying?
Actually, I have a question. So you just mentioned that PwC went for Maruti and they with 60% loss. And to make up that loss, like should we have other contracts with Maruti or other industries?
No, so we need to evaluate the strategic move, right? Strategic move, let's assume at that point of time, let's say the loss on this Maruti audit engagement contract was, let's say, $50,000, right? But why the company has taken that move? What are the additional advantage they are getting? Let's say they got Minda, they got DuPont, they got Motherson Sumi, right? And each of them are profitable contract. And let's assume the profit on these three additional contract because of Maruti they gain, right? Is let's assume $30,000. So your net loss is $20,000. 50 minus 30. If these three are contributing, let's assume $70,000, then it's not a loss contract. It's a strategic move. Make sense?
Okay, but like who decides that yes, because of
Company.
Maruti we received these four contracts.
Mhm.
Now
Company.
company, but is
That
it
will
allowed
come.
actually allowed as per gap?
No, it's like management representation.
Okay.
It will be the management representation. Whereas, for example, like loyalty reward, which I was saying. So
Mm-hmm.
in 2008, their startup, the first customer they got SBI, and
Mm-hmm.
immediate in next 1 year they got 15 new banks, which
Yeah.
include HDFC, ICI, Kotak Mahindra, Citibank, Yes Bank, many more.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they gain the trust in the market, because one of the largest banking company of the government of India is their customer.
Okay, but what kind of a general entries will be here? Like it will be different, or means like, so for
Mhm.
SBI we will book the loss. Uh,
No, no. We need to evaluate holistically in that case. Rather than considering SBI as a loss contract, we need to look at how much loss is on SBI contract and how much gain we are getting on additional contract because of SBI we are getting.
okay, so
Then net position is loss, then you need to book the loss. If net position is positive, then not required to book the loss.
But in order to like adjust this net loss, we are considering the revenue portion of the other contract. So what will happen to the revenue portion of that contract as a standalone? Because we have to like uh record that as well, right? But we are netting off that revenue towards
No,
the
no, no.
loss of
We are
this.
not netting off. We need to just evaluate. We are not making any accounting entry at this point of time. We make accounting entry if and only if there is a net loss. Otherwise, no accounting entry required.
Okay.
Hmm? Accounting entry would be required only for the loss. If there is a net loss position. If it is net favorable position, then we are not required to make any accounting entry.
Okay.
Very, very good question, Guru. Yeah, Kashish, Ayush, Prashant.
Yeah, I'm good.
Hmm?
I understood.
Okay.
So
Anyone
fine.
else? Rahul, Rajiv, Ananya. Ananya, are you here today? She's not here today, I think. ऑफिस की ट्रेनिंग ने ना ऐसी हालत कर दी लोगों की. Cool. Okay. So let's do a practice question. To determine the point in time when a customer obtain a control of promised assets, that is satisfy the performance obligation, which of the following is not an indicator of control that an entity consider? Which one is not an indicator? First is the customer has not accepted the asset and lack legal title to the asset. Second is the customer has a significant risk and reward of ownership of the asset. Third is the entity has transferred physical possession of the asset. Entity has present right to payment for the asset. Which one is not an indicator?
So first ही होगा.
Why? Why not
सर
second, third, and fourth?
सर ये तो well understood है ना ये तो.
Easy question, huh?
हाँ.
May God give all these kind of questions in your exam. Cool. Okay. So if you see, yeah. So step 5, revenue recognition is done, principal agent is done, loss contract is done. Okay.